Well, hello, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio, the show that features amazing interviews with very real people building very real businesses all over the world using the strategies that we teach right on this show. Today, we're going to have a returning guest. I love going back and checking in with people who were on the show 6 months, a year, a couple of years ago, seeing how they're doing, what income streams they're building, how their business is doing. Today, we've got Jim Seumanu. He has built an incredible business in New Zealand. He doesn't buy or sell anything in New Zealand. He lives there. Like I say all the time, it doesn't matter where you live, but you can buy and sell in the United States from anywhere. He and his wife built a beautiful business their first year, which is a few years back. They had a $300,000 business, then it grew to a $500,000 business, and they started growing their team, all while selling stuff in the United States. They were shopping online, having the products delivered to a prep center partner, which we've got dozens and dozens of them all over the U.S., and those prep partner would ship the stuff to Amazon as it sold, and Jim and his wife would get paid. I love the reason he started this business. He was just looking for a way to connect with his son who was struggling. And if you go back and listen to the last time Jim was on our show, you'll hear him dive deeper into that story. If you want to go back and hear some of that, we'll stick a link to that previous episode in the show notes today. But as his business matured, here we are a few years into the journey, he left his full-time job, which was a grade school. It was either grade school or middle school principal. That was his full-time job. So he's doing Amazon on the side with his wife in New Zealand while his full-time job is working as a school principal. Well, now, leap forward a few years, he's full-time, built an incredible business. Side note, he will be, along with hundreds of listeners to the show and many of the guests you've heard, he will be at our conference in May. Be sure to make your plans. We want you there. The last 3 days of May 2025, we're going to Orlando. Get your tickets for the conference. The resort is beautiful, right next to SeaWorld in Orlando. Bring your family. Beautiful place. For a little over $100 a night, this is an incredible resort that we've got scheduled to hang out with our whole community. Jim will be there with his wife, so plan to be there. But they've built and transitioned from doing online arbitrage and replens sourcing. What they started noticing was some of the brands they were selling were brands that they could help. That's a great way to transition into more income streams. So now what they do is they help brands that are already selling on Amazon improve their Amazon presence because they understand the landscape of Amazon better than the brand does. And they've got multiple great clients. They've built an even bigger business now that's going really well. They've got a team, and it's just an incredible opportunity for you to hear, I think, the landscape of ideas that are available to you as you step into this arena. You know, I was reading just today, see if I can find the number, an article. I think it's $750 billion that Amazon did last year. And the vast majority of that money is coming from third-party sellers. Amazon is exploding in opportunity. There are so many different ways to leverage the platform. I'm looking up to make sure that I get the right number here. Yeah, 750 billion was the Amazon's numbers. That's incredible. And the vast majority of it were people like you, like me, selling on their platform, finding brands that need help. There's hundreds of thousands of brands out there. The vast majority of them are struggling. One of the modules that we have, and you'll hear us talk about this on the show today, one of the modules we have inside the Proven Amazon course library, there's a link to Proven Amazon course at silentjimdotcom. You pay $39 a month. You get our whole library of Amazon seller content. One of the modules is learning how to do what Jim's doing. We call it the PPP, Proven Product Partnering, where you're helping brands improve their presence on Amazon and getting paid a percent of the work. Now, you can't start there. You need to learn the landscape, but you can certainly transition as quickly as you'd like once you understand the Amazon landscape to helping brands do better. And they've already got the product. They'd love to sell more of it. They're struggling with Amazon. The signs are very apparent when a brand is struggling on Amazon. By the way, you can easily spot them, and they are everywhere. You approach them with a can't lose proposition, a win-win proposition. Why would they turn you down? It costs them nothing. They're going to get more sales. You get a percent. Beautiful arrangement. So Jim talks about that a little bit today too. I think the thing that was probably the most enjoyable for me hanging out with Jim today, though, he's been in our community for several years now, and I thought he'd been on the show more than once, but I've just encountered him a handful of times here and there in our group, especially. He's so helpful in our free Facebook group, for example, and very supportive there. But I loved his heart and his vision for helping men gather with no other agenda. You're going to hear him describe it in his own words. He's helping men in his town in New Zealand, where he lives, just gather. And the ideas and the support and the community that's growing out of that, it's not monetized in any way. It's just his way of serving his local community, and the stuff that's bubbling up, the positive that's coming out of that, just made me think, if you're trying to do life or business in isolation, you're doing it the wrong way. And today we've got even more evidence. And I think you're going to feel a little beat up after this episode if you're under the impression that you can do life or business on your own. You can't. And we're going to prove it today with a conversation with Jim. All right, that's enough of an introduction for now. If this is one of the first episodes you've ever heard, I do want to let you know before I turn over the microphone and get Jim on the line here with me, that we've got hundreds of episodes where we interview the successful students from our community who are doing life and business on their own terms. They're building beautiful businesses. They're building multiple income streams. And if you want to have a conversation with us about getting you on a roadmap to your own journey towards living life on your terms with flexibility so you can pursue the vision and the mission and the purpose that you feel called to in your life, those bigger things you've always wanted to do, let us help fund and fuel that. That's what we do here. We help people build beautiful businesses. We've been doing it for 20 years. We've had almost 10,000 coaching students come through our program. So many great stories, and today's is just another one of them. Get over to silentjim.com, click on the coaching link, or go straight to our calendar and grab a slot. silentjim.com/book a call. There's a phone number there. You can text us anytime, or you can grab a slot on the calendar. We'd love to have a conversation with you about your e-commerce journey and how we can help you get from where you are now to building the business of your dreams and those multiple income streams. Let's go, right? Sounds good? Well, let's get over and talk to Jim Seumanu. You're going to love this guy. So Jim, good to see you again, my friend.
Good to be here again, Jim. Thank you.
Thanks for jumping on here. And we were talking, it feels like I've talked to you more than just once before on the podcast because your name comes up a lot around here, but it's just been one other time you were on. I alluded to that in the intro, but fill us in for those who haven't heard your story before. Let's get a quick recap and then dive into what you're working on.
Yeah, well, it was about 2017. My journey started, but it started not trying to find a business or trying to find an online e-commerce business. It actually came out of family crisis for me. And it was to do with my son. And from there, my son and I decided that I needed to do something to help him out. And we tripped over doing an Amazon business, online FBA back in 2017. So that was the start of it. We did what many people did back then and made some big mistakes. We did private label to start off with. And my son and I, we went all out for 6 months, invested lots of money, lots of time and effort and learning how to do it. We took paid a big amount of money for a course. And, but basically, after 10 months, we threw that business model in. It just wasn't sustainable for us and it just didn't work out. But the good thing about it, Jim, for me was that my son, after those 10 months, it gave him hope. It gave him something to focus on. It got him out of bed every day because it was something that he was gifted at in terms of numbers, and he was, I gave him a purpose. So I'm really grateful, and I thank the Lord for that opportunity. Even though after 10 months, we had to throw the whole thing in. We were all disappointed. So after that, really quickly, I looked into what else could there be? Living all the way here in New Zealand, this was a huge opportunity. That opened our eyes. And that's where I found online arbitrage. And that's where I found the silent team and Jim Cockram's group. And I thought, well, this is interesting. And it was during that group, that time, 2018, beginning of 2018, I studied, I learned, and the community was amazing, Jim, because there were a couple of guys in there who I really connected with, who were doing not only amazing, but I resonated with them because of their faith. They were saying, look at what I've done, look at what I've achieved this year, and all because of God and his help and his support and guiding. And I thought, wow, this is fantastic, because it's not about just business. It's also about faith, and it's about encouraging and inspiring others. That guy, a few years later, actually left. He felt God called him to another space for him. But he left me everything, Jim. I got on so well with him. He said, Jim, you can do that. All the stuff that I've built up, all this learning, I want to pass it on to you. I mean, that was another God thing, and there's so many God moments. And that was one of them where one of the community members, felt it was his time. He had achieved everything he had, and he felt that God wanted him to move into a different mission field. And so it was amazing.
Yeah.
And that's because of the community, that you built, Jim. And
it doesn't surprise me. We hear those kind of, that is the kind of community. And you say that I've built, I've been obedient, as were you, right? Yeah. You had a very unusual motivation for starting a business. Perhaps the only person, I've done hundreds of these interviews, and it's very rare that someone says, yeah, I needed to find a way to connect with my son because he was struggling. So I thought, business, what do you think, son? And he lit up. I remember that part of your story. He's like,
right.
First thing that lit him up, you were trying everything. I think, if I remember, like music, like what?
Everything.
Right. And Busy's like, let's do that, Dad. Right. And that was part of his healing journey. So good job, Dad. Again, I love that. People need to go back and hear that episode. You'll dive into more of that. But then, this story of someone just kind of open-handedly saying, yeah, I feel like I'm supposed to go do something else. Here you go. Here's what I built. Take it, run with it, keep it going. That's the kind of community we have. Not that everyone here is a saint, but there's an awful lot of really good people in this group, and God has sent them our way. And I often joke, Jim, that like if I was a pastor and this was my congregation, I would have every pastor in the world jealous of what we got here, because we got people all over the world, every background, every faith system, and we've come together in this unified mission of helping each other succeed on this journey. And some of the beautiful stories that emerge it's been incredible. But yeah, so it doesn't surprise me, but it's a beautiful thing to hear that someone did that with you. And I love it. I wasn't aware. I don't remember, at least. If you had told me before, I'd forgotten.
No, that just came to mind now. It just came to mind, and we still keep in touch with that particular family. They're doing great. But that led us to do new things, because OA and retail arbitrage, for him, I couldn't do retail arbitrage being all the way over here in New Zealand. Now, I tried to crack that code because Jimmy Smith, that, he came out with the replens model, and he had shoppers going out. And I worked with Jimmy to say, how can I do that from overseas? How can I get shoppers in America going into stores and ordering? But that didn't work out for me. And, that's where wholesale, we pivoted from OA into wholesale, which is what I do now.
You can place your orders online, OA, online arbitrage, for those who don't know. Yeah. So basically, I say all the time, Jim, not to interrupt you too much here, but where you live doesn't matter. There's always a workaround. And you're a great example of that. Yeah. Please keep going though.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I learned very quickly. Even in those first 10 months and working hard and grinding and learning, what I got out of that was, this is a real opportunity for every single person. What I saw with the FBA Amazon model was that it was a leveler, right? For people with no education, with no technical skills, with no online experience, this is an opportunity for every person. If I was to go into my local town and, want to build a business, whether it's a mechanical shop, whether it's a brand to sell your clothing, shoes, or whatever, the amount of money that I would have to invest, go to a bank, get a $50,000 loan just to outfit the shop, and then get all the gear, and you haven't even started selling. Whereas on Amazon, $39.95 a month to give you that opportunity. That's an opportunity that everyone can afford, if they were focused and really wanted to do it. So that was the opportunity I saw back then. I was in Cambodia. I would do mission trips with teachers because my background is teaching. We would take teachers over to Cambodia, and we would support some of the schools and teachers and principals do workshops in the holidays. And that's when I think I mentioned the story to you back then, Jim, that I was ringing my wife. My wife was ringing me 3:00 in the morning in Cambodia saying, Jim, we need to get some more money because everything I'm ordering is flying out the door on Amazon. We need to get more credit. We need to ring the banks. You need to ring them. This is 3:00 in the morning in Cambodia in the hotel. And I came away from that phone call thinking, this truly is a business model that you can do anywhere in the world. And to whereas today, I was the last 10 years of my teaching career, I was a school principal, loved my job, loved what I was doing, really felt called to serve that community. And I loved it. And I could see that was a job for me for the next 20, 30 years. It was such a inspiring job for me. I was growing, I was learning in educational leadership and learning for kids and for communities. But this opportunity came along and, I keep building the business as I was a principal because I could see one day, actually, I'll get my time back and I could work anywhere in the world. I could go in Cambodia and live there for 6 months, help the communities there while running my own business.
Yeah, you're a great example. I use you as an example often, and there's a good number of people in our community. I call you self-funded missionaries, right? We're like, okay, God wants me to go here. God wants me to do that. All right. I take my business with me, put it in my pocket. Off I go to do what I'm told to do. And I don't need to beg, borrow, steal from anyone to get there and do what I'm supposed to be doing. Right. And we've got a community of people who think like that and who that's their reality. And you're one of them. So you continuing to do some stuff in Cambodia? I haven't caught up with you.
No. Well, the interesting thing that's happened was since COVID, that really took us out for 2 or 3 years. We couldn't travel. And since then, Jim, we never reconnected. We've never gone back. The desire was there, but the opportunities didn't come back. And I was wondering, well, what's going on here? The interesting thing of the last 3 or 4 years, I now work with, since I've left my, being a school principal, coming home, working full time on the Amazon business, growing our team, what I found myself replacing the Cambodia mission was I now work with men in our city. And it's something that it's just, it's not me, right? It has to be God because that's not my thing. I don't work with men. I'm not a specialist in mental health or coaching men, but I find myself now, I have a men's group in the city. Like we're opening spaces all around our city so that men can just come together. And it's no agenda, nothing else, but just bringing men together around our city and just connecting, just building friendships, just walking alongside guys. And that's what I'm excited about now. That's, working this business is fantastic. I've got a great team. We work really hard. But what I love is what I do outside of business hours, which is actually...
This is the first I'm hearing about it, Jim, but I know that you are pushing back against what I believe, you think COVID was bad? There's a different pandemic that's even scarier, and that's isolation. And it's, especially men, females connect far easier than we do as guys, right? It's built into them. They go to the bathroom together. Like, come on. Like guys, it's a little harder for us. And then you put COVID on top of that and the pressure, the financial pressure, and suddenly guys are like, all of us are feeling a little isolated on the other side of this thing. So you're pushing back against isolation, which is toxic. And I'm sure that's creating business opportunities. It's creating, guys are getting in shape. It's like, hey, you know what? I've been meaning to get in shape. All right, let's do it together, guys, right? Like just guys gathering is powerful. And we kind of need an excuse to do it sometimes. So like we need either food or a game to watch or something. And we're like, yeah, I can go do that. I mean, I'm just going to hang out, like what are we going to do? Like, we got to have something on the agenda, right? But it's a powerful atmosphere. And I'd love to hear, like, what's it turning into?
To be honest, it's the potential of it is massive. And, I felt this year the Lord say, hey, don't get busy building this. Get busy building me, relationship with him. And I really feel that's a theme, Jim, that's coming through really strongly. Is that we can, I can go back and being busy again, trying to build this men's ministries, I guess you can call it. But I tell you what it's turning into. It's because it started in my dining room. About 4 years when I left teaching, I felt that I needed to invite men in my street to come around for breakfast. And there's a bit of a journey around that. But anyway, that grew from 4 guys to now we have about 22 guys who come around to my place for breakfast on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And what I saw, exactly what you said, was when men come around and they sit around and they start talking and healing starts to take place because people are starting to connect. People are starting to confess. They're starting to be vulnerable as that space becomes a trusted space. And so from there, I've just taken that and I've just said, why can't every other street have this in my city? Like, so that's a bit of a journey over the last couple of years, me going out to now the city and saying, we're opening up these spaces. Tonight, Friday night here in New Zealand, so we open up a bowling club. And at the bowling club, we have pool, we've got darts, we have table tennis, we have outdoor bowls, we have volleyball, chess, cards. And we get anywhere between 20 and 50 men who just come along and just hang out. And it's just beautiful. We have a coffee club on a different day where I've opened up during the day. I thought there'd be guys like me working online who would want to connect. So I said, okay, on a Thursday, 1 o'clock to 2:30, let's come together. Who's out there? What we're finding is that we have a lot of 65 to 75-year-olds, 80-year-olds who are coming out during that time because they have the time, and they're isolated, some of them, and some of them just want to connect with me again. So watch this space, Jim. I really feel it's something that, God's been preparing me for, many, many years. When I look back at my teaching career and my principal leadership stuff and business with Amazon, being in this community, the silent team community, it's, I'm in the right place right now with what I'm doing. Like I say, one of the interesting things, Tim, is people saying, I've got the council, the local council, hey, can we sponsor this? Can we put some money on this? And and we're like, we don't need your money. We don't need you. We don't need your money. We don't want you to stamp approval on it. Let's just let it go. And, I've got funders, we've got other trusts saying, Jim, would love to sponsor this. This is fantastic. And I'm struggling to go, actually, I'm not sure what we could do with your money. Because it kind of self-funds. It's organic. It's from the community for the community. And I'd like to try and keep it like that. But look, in the end, what I love is just, what I feel the Lord's teaching me at this stage is like, I don't need anything. I just need him. I just need to listen and obey, and he will give me the plans. He will tell me what to do, what opportunities to take and not to take. So it's nice and scary, Jim, which I think is another thing. I don't want to get comfortable. I don't want to feel like this is all about me, because it's not. It's about bringing men together and just, causing community to come together, to inspire each other, support each other, because there is a lot of loneliness. There's a lot of isolation happening. There's a lot of broken people, a lot of hurt people. Right. And, but there's also a lot of successful people, business people that I also hang out with, who are also lonely, are also broken. And so this is my attempt to just do that. That's what I feel to do. So that's what I'm doing.
It's a beautiful, beautiful mission, a beautiful vision. I hope it resonates with the listeners today. And, it's not really an e-commerce topic, so to speak, but it kind of is, because I talk all the time around here that the advice I give, and even in my book, I write a significant amount about this in the Silent Sales Machine book, which it's free. Go to silentjimdotcom/free11, pick up a free copy. One of the things I talk about is, instead of setting out to pursue your passion, maybe feel like, I feel like I was made to do this, I'm going to go do this. How about you serve well in business, and that frees up your time to go pursue those things, and they don't have to be monetized then. You don't have to figure out a way to monetize this gathering of men. You've got a successful business. You're selling. You've built a beautiful e-commerce business. You're leveraging Amazon, and you've got this beautiful operation over here that fuels your ability to say, okay, God, what do you got for me? I don't need any outside funding. I don't need to monetize it. Where are you calling me to go? There's not enough people taking that approach. And from my vantage point, they're trying to monetize this vision instead of saying, okay, I'm bringing the funding and I'm bringing the energy because God's blessed my business. What do you got for me? What are we going to go do now with these resources? I just love to see that you're doing it. It doesn't happen that way for everyone, but I think more people need to think that way. Is kind of my take on it. God maybe is calling you something that's really big, but you're not necessarily going to be monetizing it. You're going to be self-funding it because of your focused attention. Because if we're going to live in the greatest time, Jim, the greatest time in human history to launch and grow a business because of the internet and the way it's changed the world, and take advantage of that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Business, right? And then let that fuel your mission, purpose, and those things that you feel called to. And not just go buy yourself a bunch of toys, but like, what is it I'm supposed to be doing here to make an impact for the kingdom? And that's what you're doing. I love it. So from my vantage point, you're a self-funded missionary. You were called to Cambodia there for a while. You were called to your son. You were called to Cambodia, and now you're called to the men of your region.
Yeah.
Helping them gather. That's every bit as much a ministry as any paid, church operation I've ever seen.
Sure. I love it. And the exciting thing about working on the Amazon business is the time that I had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as a principal, I was busy, but I was also working the business on the side there. But now the time that I have to have guys come around for coffee any time of the day, it's just a huge blessing, Jim. And
The pace,
because it needs time, right? I mean, money's good, but time is even more valuable that I can, to sit down and actually put hands to work. And we've got a website now where, because my name started getting out in the community saying, hey, well, Jim can help you. Jim can work. And I'm like, whoa. I can't help. I'm not a specialist in that area, or I'm not an expert who has experience in that space. But what I can do, and I've just put up a website. I've just created my own website called palmymen.co.nz. And basically men can go there now and find out this week, where are all the spaces in our city where men are meeting, right? That's what I can do now. I'm not a counselor. But I can support that infrastructure. And then where in the city can I go and get help because of, either addictions or budgeting advice or fathering advice, and we've got all their services here. So I can make those accessible. So those are the type of things I'm finding myself, gathering other men who are doing other things like I am in the city and hanging out with them and fathering them and encouraging them and inspiring them to come and get refreshed, come and hang out with other like-minded people and then go out and do your thing. That's what I'm excited about.
And it's phenomenal. I love to hear the vision and the purpose and what drives people outside of their business. The business is virtuous in and of itself. The business can do so much good. And if that's all you were doing was creating opportunities for the people you work with, your suppliers, your customers that you're making happy, if that's it, that's a very virtuous endeavor. But inevitably, it almost feels like always there's something else that and this is what I do with the free time that God has given me as a result of this business that I'm working. Right. And I love to hear those visions playing out, man. I love it. I feel like you're on the cusp of starting a movement. We'd have people reaching out going, hey, what's that website again? So send it to me when we're done. I'll stick it in the show notes. So you can just see an example of what you're doing, and maybe it's going to inspire someone to do something similar. Fire that to me when we're done. But all right, so let's talk about what you got going on with Amazon, with your e-commerce business. What are the moving parts? How's it going? Fill me in.
Okay. So from doing, about 6 years ago, we pivoted from OA into where we saw that Amazon would be ideal for brands, right? For brands to be selling on. And so what we saw with our success on Amazon doing arbitrage, we saw other opportunities like other listings. I mean, thinking these guys are selling lots, but why, but their listings look terrible. They don't have the fundamentals of how to really grow their brand and their business and their sales on Amazon. So that pivoted us towards a more of a wholesale model. And then during the wholesale model, we started talking to our suppliers and said, hey, listen, we could sell way more products if you followed the Amazon, use the Amazon tools, the brand registry, all the available tools that are Amazon makes available for brands to really grow on Amazon. And so a lot of education came around talking to our suppliers, would they like that opportunity for us to train them? And so that's turned into now the PPP model that we do now, Jim. So we now have a relationship with some of the brands. We work really closely with them. We become their partner. That's the way we position ourselves as a very small boutique agency to help brands scale on Amazon. So that's the model we've taken now. And it's a lot of work. It's and also not only a lot of work, it's how do you build that trust? How do you build that relationship with a brand? And for us, being thousands of miles in a different country, how do we build that relationship? So a lot of things we've had to learn over the last 3 or 4 years is a system of how do we contact brands that could need our services and our help? But not only that, how can we make it really easy for them to trust us to build that, partnership together? So that's a learning journey over the last 3 or 4 years that we've had to, get better at, and we're still learning. I just met 2 days ago with another Silent team member who reached out because he's going through that process right now with another brand, and he's like, Jim, I need some help. Can we sit down and talk some things through? It's a lot of work, but really worthwhile if you can build a team. Like, that's what I focused on over the last couple of years, building a team who can service other brands and partner with other brands to grow their brands on Amazon.
We will continue the episode in just a minute, but I'm so excited to tell you about a new sponsor of our podcast. I'm talking about Profit Cyclops. You are going to want to check these guys out. Get over to silentjim.com/Cyclops, Cyclops. For $2 per month, they provide an incredible suite of value to Amazon sellers. Their tool works for Walmart and Shopify and TikTok sellers as well. This is incredible. Check it out, guys. They've got a profit analysis tool that tells you all the numbers on a SKU level, on an ASIN level, so you can know which products are the most profitable and which ones are maybe losing you money when you didn't realize it. You get a repricer. They're rolling out this new functionality right now. You get a reimbursement service. That means if Amazon owes you money, they're monitoring for that, and they're going to make sure you get it for $2 per month. Now, once you go over $5,000 per month in sales on Amazon, their prices go up a little bit, but they love working with new sellers, helping you get ramped up. If you're new to selling on Amazon and you want a tool that really gives you an insight into what your true expenses are per product that you're selling so you can know if you're profitable or not, that's their core function. But as you expand, this is going to grow with you. Know your numbers for $2 per month if you're a small seller. Profit Cyclops. Get over to silentjim.com/Cyclops, Cyclops, to get an insight into the numbers of your business. Let's get back to today's episode.
Who can service other brands and partner with other brands to grow their brands on Amazon.
How many brands are you working with at this point?
So at the moment, we have about 7 brands. So very small. And the other thing is, Jim, we think about that. And I want to encourage everyone, if you're going to look at that mode, you don't need 7 brands. You don't need 50 brands. All you need is one really good brand.
Yep.
And, you build a good relationship with them and you serve them well. The opportunity is amazing. And I think I shared in the last podcast, our very first brand that we did, that grew from, from 300,000 a year to a 3.5 million revenue a year for just that one brand. Mm-hmm. And the truth was, we could have just stayed with that one brand and don't do any more. But as we branched out, we saw more opportunities. But that brand, 18 months ago, about 2 years ago, sold to a big corporate. And so that made us realize, actually, we do need to grow other brands so that we keep the revenue coming.
Diversify. Yeah.
Diversify. Yeah.
Yeah. Multiple streams of income. And for those who don't know, let me just fill folks in for a moment, Jim, about, you mentioned the PPP model. Inside of our proven Amazon course training library, we have a module created by your good friend and mine. The guy has been with me for over 20 years at this point, Nathan, on our team, our coaching director. He created a module called PPP, Proven Product Partnering, meaning instead of going out trying to find products to sell, you find brands that are maybe struggling or could use a little bit of help on Amazon, and which is, I would say 95% of the brands on Amazon right now aren't happy with some aspect of their Amazon selling experience. It's frustrating. They can't figure it out. There's no one on their team that understands it. Someone please help us clean up our catalog. Like you said, one of the big red flags is terrible pictures and terrible listings and, misspelled brand and trademark issues and things like, oh, this is a mess. They need your help. You can approach them with a win-win proposition that says, hey, let me step in, clean this up, help you out, smooth things out, and take a percentage of the improved sales that I'm about to bring in. And, you can have them pay you a little upfront or not, but those are different things we go into in the course. But it is a brilliant low-hanging fruit model that starts to allow you to have multiple streams of income where you're not just on one account selling the products you sell, but now you've got several accounts, right? So yeah, I love to see that you've matured into that and taken on new brands, and it sounds like it's going really well.
It's going great. And, what I love about it, Jim, in the end, it comes down to, I've always seen myself as a learner. Right? So going from teaching to e-commerce, that's crazy. That's totally separated by miles. But what I loved about the e-commerce, and not only did I have that motivation for my son, but me as a learner. So I was just learning every day. And, one of the things that a lot of us, have learned is that, the more little mistakes you can make, the faster you can make those, the faster your learning becomes. And that's what I loved about the Amazon side of things. You can buy a few here, buy a few there. That didn't work. Okay. And now you learn. And, we're learning all the time, and we have different clients now. We have different clients now in the beauty catalog. And we always say to ourselves, we'll never go into the beauty catalog. We've heard so many, issues and challenges with Amazon on that. Here we are helping a brand in that space, which is a whole lot of more learning. We've got stuff in the protein and other, supplements like, oh no, what are we doing here? But again, we're learning all these things, and not only learning how to do it on Amazon, off Amazon is even more powerful.
No reason.
So working with influencers and working with, different strategies off Amazon to really blow up their sales on Amazon, which is, so again, there's always learning. There's always something to learn in this business, which I get excited about.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the basic skills that I tell people is if you're willing to always be learning and to try small things and test them and be okay if they fail, because again, you're not spending a lot of money or time, effort, and energy to do these. It's little tests. And when something works, you start wading into it a little more aggressively and you scale it up, and you're always testing. So you're always learning and always testing and always failing by definition, because some things don't work, but it doesn't cut you off at the knees to fail when you spent $10, $20 on an experiment, or when you sent an email, or when you made a phone call. Those are the little tests, right? You can build something truly beautiful and flexible. And I love your story. Well, what else would you like to share with folks? I think it's been a very insightful episode. I'm going to stick a link to the first episode I did with you too, as well, for reference for folks. But what else is on your mind? Was there anything you were hoping to share today with the listeners, or?
No, not really. I was just, I'm just always excited to share as much as I can, and I knew you would bring it out, right? So I don't know. I guess the best thing, actually, let me be vulnerable. Let me share one of the struggles I'm going through right now, just to encourage it, right? Just, one of the things that I struggle with, finding a challenge, and I'm working on it, it's having boundaries of working. Because one of the things I find there's always work to do. There's always something you can do.
Right.
And at the same time, I don't want to get so busy doing things that I miss out the important things, right, in life. And so one of the things that those who are maybe listening can maybe relate to that. I remember when we first started, my wife and I got into online arbitrage. We were just working. We're both working full time, coming home. We're working together, trying to find more ASINs to buy and to test. And on the positive side, that was amazing, because that brought us closer together. They gave us as a couple to work together, which was really cool, because you really get to know each other when you do something like that in business.
You do.
But it came a stage where we were just, in our second, I think our first year, we did over 300,000 worth of sales on the first year. And that's not bad, just learning something. But the second year, we scaled to over 500,000. But we hit the wall, right? Because there's the legal side of things you got to do. There's all the tax side of things, being in New Zealand, America. There's the company side of things, let alone the buying and selling. And so, that, I think, when I look back, really, got me into that habit of always hustling, always trying to find the next ace, and always trying to, what's next? Don't want to miss out on this. And with the technology these days that's coming up, I can feel that coming back to me saying, hey, you got to keep up with this. You got to do this. What's happening here with AI? What can AI do here? PPC stuff. And so I guess I just want to share that, we've got to be aware of these things, because I don't want to go back through that burnout again, or just feeling overwhelmed to want to give up. The good thing I want to share is when we hit that wall back then, what we decided to do was to find business partners, find other people to come in and take the load off us. And I think that was a great move. I think after that year, we scaled 3 times the business. So, I always say that Amazon is a team game. It's great. You got to start by yourself. You got to learn. You got to send, you got to know how to do the labels. You got to send stuff in to Amazon. You got to learn that stuff. But then you got to look after yourself, and you got to grow. You got to get other people in the team to do some of the work, because I don't want you ending up where we did when we hit the wall. And I kind of feel, Jim, it's like almost the same. It's almost circling around again. I feel like, okay, there's so much going on. So how do I move to the next day? How do I make sure I have boundaries in there? Make sure that I'm spending time with the Lord, with my family, with my kids, with my friends, and I'm enjoying life at the same time. So that's a journey for me. I don't want people to think, wow, Jim's really going really well. He's got a great business, great team. There are also my challenges that we've got to face. And that's one of mine that I know I'll be really strong and disciplining my time, particularly with my wife right now, Jim, because our kids are now in their 20s. They're all moving on. And, I want to make sure that my wife and I really are focused on in the next 20, 30 years. What did that look like for us now?
Yeah.
Just
couple
start
goals.
dreaming again. Yeah. So
my wife and I are in the same season, grown kids, and we've never enjoyed each other's time and company more than we do now. It's a beautiful thing. The reward. You have any grandkids yet?
Not yet. Not yet, Jim.
It's one of those benchmarks you can't prepare yourself for. I mean, everyone says it's a big deal, but man, it's a big deal, dude. It's a very rewarding part of life. But I hear you, man. I had a couple thoughts as you were talking through that.
Sure.
Should it surprise us at all that the solution that God provides for us when we start to kind of feel, business burnout, just like there's always more ideas, there's always more to pursue, there's always more opportunity, and we find ourselves just kind of go. Is it any surprise at all that the solution out of that is relationships and people? Because if we look at business through a biblical lens, which I love to do, relationships aren't some kind of nice little bonus that comes with a business. No, relationships are the whole point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Business done in isolation is business done the wrong way. Like you said, when you start, it's a period of intense focused effort learning and you're doing it yourself. But if you intend to stay there in loner mode, you're going to burn out. It's not going to last. The solution forward is always going to be bringing more people in, right? And you learned that. And the other thing is, talking about burnout, I was just having a conversation today, actually, with my mentor, Rabbi Daniel Lappin. I was on his show recently, and he was on mine. Great insights for this stuff. But I was talking about how strange it is. Like, you look at the 10 commandments, that we're supposed to run our life by, the core foundational concepts culture is supposed to be built on if you want to succeed. One of them is, hey, a week is 7 days. And by the way, take one of them off. That's one of the commandments.
Right.
Take a day off every week, minimum, 1 day every week, where you don't focus on money and business and driving and striving and building. Because if you do, the system won't work. Right. And I've talked to many, many great leaders and really driven people. And for a season, you can ignore that. But I've always said, God's going to get back that seventh day. You're going to be in the hospital for 3 months. And you're going to do the math. They're like, wait a second. That's about how many weeks I skipped taking the break.
Yeah.
Right?
That's great.
Yeah. There's just a couple of things that popped in my head as you were talking about that. So I love driving forward and taking new territory, but not at the risk of the most important relationships. My walk with God, my family, my wife. Beautifully said, man. Yeah. What else is on your mind? I think people are getting a lot of wisdom out of this one today. Unexpected ways, possibly.
Well, no, look, I don't really have much on my mind. It's just like you said at the beginning, like just feeling blessed, like this is an exciting time to be alive, with all the different opportunities, and particularly what I'm seeing in my, hanging out with other men. It just makes me so grateful. And, there's lots of different, skills that I'm learning again, just the importance of listening, and the importance of just having no agenda. I think, for me, that's been a big thing. Growing up in a Christian home, to be honest, I was quite judgmental, Jim. I always looked at other people and like, oh, are they Christians? And oh, they're smoking, they're doing this, and the last few years, that's just, I've just stripped it all off. I've had to just get rid of all that and just love people but to do that, to love people, because it's not easy to do, to love people. Love people is complex and it's hard. What I found, that works for me is once you understand God's love, for me, once I get a revelation and understanding and experience and encounter his love, and that's taken 8 years for me, Jim, because when my boy went through what he went through, that was the beginning of the transformation for me. It was painful, it was hurtful. I was going through a whole lot of emotions as my boy was walking, I was walking alongside my boy. That is what ultimately changed my heart. And what I got to understand over years was his heart. I got a little glimpse of God, of my Father, Heavenly Father's heart. And so that has helped me just look at the world like that, look at my neighbors like that, and
Yeah.
now I'm
You see
looking
people
at
differently through that lens.
absolutely. And that's, that's awesome.
Paul talked about in the New Testament, I'm not sure where, could easily find it, but talked about this debt of love that I could never repay. You come to this realization, like, hold up. God loves me so much.
Yeah.
Like, how could I not love others?
Yeah.
Like, there's a debt of love that I can never possibly repay. I could be as generous and kind and altruistic my entire life, and I will not even begin to tap into repaying this debt. And once you have that realization, it becomes a lot easier to see people through a different lens. But it's a daily habit. I think that's what part of as Christians talk about, pick up the cross daily. I think that's what we're picking up. Like, yeah, but that guy's really annoying. It's like, I pick up the cross. How much did God love you? You were forgiven from death row, mister.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to go out there and get offended over some little silly, slight. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's an incredible journey, and in business just enhances and supports and is ingrained right into the lessons apply. I almost feel like we have an unfair advantage sometimes as Christians, as believers, right? Because it's like all the same lessons. To be a solid businessman means you're patient, you're kind, you're all these fruits of the Spirit. You can delay gratification. You're not self-seeking and self-centered. You've got to be giving, and giving serve mode constantly. Like that makes you great at business. And that's what we're called to be. So like the two just blend so beautifully, don't they? And well,
absolutely, Jim. Can I just say, I just want to finish up because you're so right. Because all of that stuff, in terms of my transformation and what I've had to go through, that's my biggest superpower now in business. People get to see that. People get to feel that. We don't have to talk about salvation or God but they get a sense, like our offer, like we've changed our name to Trusted Brand Partners, because like I said, how do we build relationships with people who are thousands of miles away, don't even know us? How do we get, so our offer, when we try and work with them, like we give them 3 months trial. It's like, this is not going to cost you a thing. Jimmy Smith did a video just before Christmas or after Christmas, and he pointed it all out again. I'm like, that's exactly our model. Jimmy talks about, when you want to work with partners and this PPP model, do it for free. You don't get them to pay you anything, but you would do all the work for them for free, because as your partner, you'll make money through your margins as you sell as an exclusive seller. And, we've made sure that, all of our processes, when we're on board or when we introduce ourselves or we get introduced to a brand, that they really sense this real trust that, we're not out there. If you want to do business with us, we'll help you. We'll give you 3 months. We'll check it out. We don't have to sign contracts. We'll do whatever we can to increase your sale. Just give us one of your products and we'll prove it. After 3 months, if we haven't proved anything, we just walk away.
And you look at listings and you know more about Amazon. Yeah. And you've lost.
Absolutely. And we're happy to leave that all there for them if they choose not to want to work with us. But there's no way that any of our clients are not going to work with us by the way we serve them. And again, it's just coming back to that, that heart from God, when you have that love and when you want to serve, you still you got to make money, right? Because that's not sustainable. But all of that in the end, it just, as you serve, our clients love us, Jim. We're coming over to the conference in May, but part of that, I didn't realize there was one in May, but we're coming to see all our clients in America. Right? So we got 6 clients in America. We're going from LA to San Diego. We're going to visit Nathan in Utah, and then we're flying over to North Carolina, where we've got 2 or 3 of our clients there. So they can't wait for us to come over.
That's so great. And you're going to cap it all off by being, like you said, at our conference.
We're going to come down to the conference and love to see everyone and see the coaching team too. So I'm excited about that.
It's going to be such a great event. It's coming together beautifully right now. We're just starting to ramp up a serious planning mode for that event. Yeah, the last 3 days of May 2025. For the listeners, come see Jim and meet the team and meet so many of these great people that we've talked about today. Hundreds of us are going to gather. The website is theprovenconference.com. If you want to check it out, come join us. But yeah, man, it's great hanging out with you, Jim. I do need to get rolling for now, but this was just, for me, just another couple of guys hanging out, kind of like what you do, right? I benefit from this so much, and just the camaraderie, the iron sharpening iron type of aspect of this, right? where I think we'll both think of things later that, oh, I wish I'd have said, or we could have said, or we could have talked about. But I just think that episodes like this get the wheels turning for the listeners. And I would encourage them, and I know you would echo this sentiment, Jim, if you feel like God's kind of prompting you somewhere, pray about it. Seek him. Ask for wisdom. The smartest man who ever lived, this is maybe a good place to live, Solomon. God said, hey, I'll give you anything. What do you want? You know what he asked for, Jim. He asked for wisdom. And you can ask for wisdom for your business, for your relationship, whatever. And God will give you that wisdom if you ask for it. And hopefully this episode kind of prompts you in that direction. And we'd love to be part of your journey, your business journey, or just building the kind of friends that you know you need in your life. This community is full of some really good people like you, Jim. And can't wait to see you here in a few months, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jim. Thanks for your time. And really look forward to our conference.
Yeah, we'll see you in May. All right. Well, bye for now, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to this great episode of Silent Sales Machine Radio. We have a very quick announcement that you don't want to miss right now.
Does anyone out there ever feel uncertain when choosing an ACE in a test? Like, it's ambiguous and you're not really sure?
Yeah, or like you have to stand on one leg on the second Tuesday of the first week of the month if the moon is in retrograde.
Right. And hold your mouth right. You got to remember to hold your mouth right. Then you might possibly
consider testing that ASIN someday, maybe.
Right. Sometimes Keepa seems overwhelming. Like it's got so many data points. What if I'm missing something? I'm afraid I'm missing something, so I don't want to pull the trigger. Right?
Yes. Well, we host a 2-day workshop that will demystify the process of building a predictable, scalable, and sustainable book of business on Amazon.
Yeah, it starts with a pre-flight inspection of a listing. So you can answer the question, should I go any further with this ASIN or do I need to move on?
If you get past that, we're going to show you how to apply 3 simple yes or no questions that will help you decide whether to pull the trigger or not. Yeah. Like, is this even a good ASIN to test?
Right. And if you do decide to test it, we'll help you implement a framework for a 4-week testing process. And this process is clear and methodical, and it'll tell you whether you should replenish that ASIN or not.
Now, in these 2 days, we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to practice how to apply these critical concepts together. It's intense, it's focused, and it's packed with frameworks, quizzes, and actionable information that really is going to stack the deck in your favor when finding your first 100 replenishable ASINs.
Or your next 100 replenishable ASINs.
Yes, I love it.
Yes. You're going to leave with a roadmap to create your foundational book of business over the next few months.
Our next workshop is May 27th and 28th in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, but seating is limited. It's an intimate setting, but you'll be able to ask all of your questions, plus you'll hear all the questions of the other attendees.
Yeah, this is fun, dynamic, educational. It's a great experience where you will get to meet and work with other people who are doing the same things that you are with similar goals. Mm-hmm. Imagine how you would feel when you get back home after the workshop and you're feeling transformed from unsure to certain, from cautious to confident, from overwhelmed to empowered.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to stand on one leg anymore and hold your mouth right. Just making sure, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So if you would like to feel that way, go to provenamazoncourse.com/100. That's provenamazoncourse.com/100. And we look forward to seeing you there because we're inspired by the accomplishments of others.
We're passionate about helping others reach their goals.
And we're committed to sharing the keys to success that have been shared with us.